Hello there. In this week's Data Vault radio show, I'll be taking a look at some of the traps that people fall into when setting up a data management system. I'll be catching up with Bronwen Fairbairn from Ignition, and I'll be bringing you up to date with some of the news that's going on around the internet. All that and more coming up now on the Data Vault radio show. Hey, welcome to this week's episode of the Data Vault radio show, brought to you by the Data Vault Innovators community. And oh boy, is it a busy week for that community. You see, today, the Thursday that this video comes out, there's a summit happening in London, brought to you by Scale Free and Coalesce, where they're sitting down with a bunch of other Data Vault users and going through things like networking and meeting each other and different workshops and a whole bunch of different things going on. So if you're watching this from London, Pip cheerio. I hope you enjoy what's going on over there. I'm told the tea in England is particularly lovely. I'm also told that it's quite possible you'll be invaded by something like Daleks or Cybermen, and if you see a guy in a little blue police box, maybe just leave him to do his thing and run in the opposite direction to whichever way they're going. On top of that, we're also planning for a live recording session next week of our Data Vault Masterclass. If you haven't come across these yet, we do masterclasses each month where we sit down with a bunch of experts, ask them a bunch of questions from around the industry and get their advice on how to fix problems or approach issues or take a look at a problem that might be popping up from a different perspective. And they're all available on our YouTube page as well as through the podcast pages that you get your podcasts from. But we're doing a live recording in Melbourne on the 20th. And you can actually register for that really simply by going to the Innovators community, going to the events which are listed there and RSVPing. Or go to the address that's going to be linked in the bio below so you can learn a little bit more about the event that's happening before that as well with IBM, because that's where the recording session is happening. They're letting us borrow their room for a little bit, which is really cool of them. Now let's get into this week's news, which is, newsy, and it's all from this week. This week's news is brought to you by Warescape Data Automation. It's automation made simple. Gartner recently published its Magic Quadrant for Augmented Data Quality Solutions. The report defines augmented data quality solutions as providing a set of capabilities for enhanced data quality experience aimed at improving insight discovery, next best action suggestions, and process automation by leveraging AI and machine learning features, graph analysis, and metadata analytics. Use cases include analytics, AI and machine learning development, data engineering, data analytics governance, master data management, and operational and transactional data quality. The report describes the importance of generative AI in the data quality field, and elsewhere noting that along with benefits, its use presents a new challenge. Building AI-ready data to ensure the high quality of AI models also places a new demand on data quality. If that demand is met, though, data quality can provide a competitive advantage for data and analytics leaders, the company said. A Gartner webinar poll in July 2023 found that 42% of organizations are piloting generative AI or in production, and 50% are actively assessing it, the report said. With the rise of generative AI, data quality solutions facilitate the adoption of Gen AI by providing technologies to prepare training data sets and to get your data AI ready. For more on this report, check out the link below. This is something of an older story, dating back to October last year, but it was something that caught our eye, with many companies beginning to test or use generative AI. Deloitte's second annual report on the state of ethics and trust in technology reported that 56% of respondents don't know or are unsure if their organizations have ethical standards guiding the use of generative AI. Along with nearly 3/4 of individuals surveyed saying their companies had begun testing generative AI, 65% are already using it inside their business, and 31% have begun using this technology for external consumption. The study, led by Deloitte's Technology Trust Ethics Practice, surveyed more than 1,700 businesses and technical professionals across the industry sectors to assess if and how ethical standards are being applied to emerging technology in their organizations. Emerging technology was defined as cognitive technologies, including AI, digital reality, ambient experiences, autonomous vehicles, quantum computing, distributed ledger technology, and robotics. And the survey and report had an added focus on generative AI this year. There is an inherent opportunity to apply emerging technologies for societal good while creating financial value for the enterprise, said Kwasi Mitchell, Chief Purpose and DEI Officer at Deloitte. However, the adoption of generative AI is outpacing the development of ethical principles around the use of the technology, intensifying the potential risks to society and corporate trust if these standards continue to lag. You can find a link to the report in the description below. However, we'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on this subject more, so check out the forums at DVIC and make sure you become a member to have your say. And finally, Ali Azhar from Datanami has reported that Cloudera have unveiled a new open data lakehouse to unlock enterprise AI. As listeners will know, data lakehouses offer organizations a way to store massive volumes of raw data while providing a structured environment for complex analytics. To help unlock the full potential of data lakes, Cloudera has announced the next phase of its open data lakehouse on a private cloud. The company reports to be the only provider to offer an open data lakehouse with Apache Iceberg for private and public clouds. Cloudera are also reporting that based on studies, more than half of the organizations in the US, about 53%, are currently using Gen AI, and an additional 36% are in the early stages of exploring Gen AI implementation. While Gen AI adoption is on the rise, the same study revealed that 84% of decision makers for data strategy and management are concerned about data privacy, security, and compliance issues in using Gen AI, making this one of the most significant obstacles to be overcome as AI is deployed at scale. All right, I'd like to thank WeScape again for making this week's news possible. Don't forget you can like, share, and subscribe to this video at any time, but you can also comment on it over at the Data Vault Innovators Community Forum. It's free to join and we'd love to get your feedback on this. One of the things you might have noticed come through as a theme in this week's news is about the importance of having a really solid base of data to be able to build working generative AI that actually does what it's supposed to. And that was a topic of conversation that popped up with me and Bronwen Fairbairn, who's today's interview guest. She's the principal consultant for Ignition in Australia, and absolutely brilliant to sit down and have a chat to her. Yeah, why don't you have a bit of a listen? So first of all, thank you very much, Bronwen, for joining me. Very short notice, I know, but I very much appreciate it. You got 3 hours behind me anyway, so it's like plenty of time for you to run and play catch up, I guess.
Yeah. Where are you actually based? New Zealand?
Auckland, New Zealand.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the weather like there over the moment?
It's terrible. It's awful at the moment. We've had beautiful sunny days for the last couple of weeks, and you just know because it's autumn that it's going to turn to crap at some point. It did that this afternoon. The heavens opened. My garden was very happy, and everybody else was really depressed.
I think we're talking from different perspectives. So I'm from Brisbane, so sweltering heat, and there's been heat wave after heat wave after heat wave. It's finally getting cool enough that you don't have to run the air conditioning all night. And I've had trees banging against my house in the wind, and I actually haven't trimmed them. I've been going like, just stay there, be good, stay there, because they provide extra shelter from the sun. Now it's going to be cool enough, and I've gone and trimmed them, and which my house has been grateful for.
I bet, yeah. But I suppose in summer, when you've got those trees out there, they cast shade and they stop the sun from coming in.
They make a huge difference in terms of the shade and bringing the temperature down, just because the trees actually create evaporation, which lowers the temperature down, and it's phenomenal.
I've been working events over the summer here, and we do these big outdoor concerts with the city council, and we go to these parks, and like the beautiful parks, but you have to have big open spaces for the concerts. And you might have a park. We had one on the weekend where like the edges of the park was tree lined and the back of the park was tree lined, and it was 25, 30 degrees here, which is a high temperature for Aucklanders. They're not used to temperatures that high. So those were the first areas that became full. So you've got these artists performing to what looks like an empty field, but there's actually hundreds of people hiding under the shade of the trees in the distance. Like it's a very surreal kind of moment. It's very odd.
Very odd. Casual audience style.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We had some very well-known New Zealand artists performing at these events, so it's quite funny. You see these people come out; they're really amped, but don't want to get too close because it's too hot. I don't want to get sunburnt.
I'm excited. I'm from the inside.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see this act from a really far away point in the park. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Well, I should probably jump into the interview with you. I guess the first question is, what should people know about Ignition?
I don't know. It's kind of a big space. Ignition has recently split off from a larger company called Certus Solutions. So they're trying to really identify themselves within the data space and get into that data management and data insights specialization. Obviously, this is what everyone is really excited about and has been excited about for the last 10 years, but the hype is just growing and growing with AI and all the other things changing. Just how you can analyze information to drive insights, make sure that things are being utilized to their maximum performance, but also make sure that you're managing your responsibilities. So are you complying with all of the legal regulations out there? Are you managing your risk, etc.? So that data can be powerful, but it can also be scary, and breaches can happen.
I suppose good AI only works if you've got a
Sorry,
good
there might be
database.
a little bit of crying in the background. I've got a 1-year-old daughter who
Oh,
doesn't like it when I'm on meetings.
I bet. She just wants the attention.
Yes.
She's like, why can't I do the meetings? I want to do the meeting. Um, I, I suppose with AI as well, the better AI comes with better data as its
Mhm.
base. So
Yeah.
you need to have that out there. And Ignition seems to be positioning itself as a really good organization for helping you get that base to make sure that if you're working with AI, it's going to do everything that you need it to without it, causing you more harm than good.
Yeah. AI is a tool like any other.
Yeah.
People think, oh, AI, it's intelligent. It does what I need it to do. But no, that's not the
Mm.
case. I kind of think uh, we're not actually quite at that intelligence yet. We're getting there, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where you draw that line, but it's really an artificial tool to me, as opposed to an intelligence like you would have in a coworker or something else. So it's really important that you understand how to use those tools and have a specialist that can do that and make sure that you're actually getting the correct answers and getting the maximum value that you can get.
Makes a lot of sense. So how did you get into data management then? What was your path to get to where you are today?
Um, I actually had a very strong mathematical background. I uh, studied maths at university and was very good in that math space, but I got a bit bored with the um, speed at which the mathematical uh, sector evolves and changes, and
Does it change?
they were
Does
getting a bit slow now that so much has been done. Although
Yeah,
maybe that's not the case. So I reached out into other areas, and data management I think had a natural fit with my skill sets. It was logical, it was programmatic, it was um, delving through noise to get at the value. And so that's how I got there, and I've been here ever since. I've played around with um, uh, home built data warehouses, written all in JavaScript with custom GUI front ends, etc.
mhm,
Um, Gone into Kimball modeling and spent a lot of time there. And then actually got exposed to Data Vault as one of the first Data Vault sites in Australia. And I have never gone back. Data Vault seems to be the best architecture I know of for data management, although it does need to be designed well to
mhm.
the customer that is implementing it. But it has the power to grow and evolve and maintain your data historically. So I've done become an evangelist for Data Vault to some extent, and haven't stopped moving since that moment.
And so numbers can only go so far, surely. I mean, they've discovered all the numbers. I mean, what else can you do with them? Do we need like a pi
You can count to infinity.
Maybe. I'm sure somebody, give AI a chance, it'll get there eventually. It'll tell you how far it can go before everything breaks. The universe cracks around it. So what do you do to unwind then? Because obviously you must be very busy parenting at the moment, as well as all the Data Vault work and everything like that. Do you get a chance to unwind these days?
I am very busy at the moment. My life since having my daughter 14 months ago has become amazingly docile and yet lacking in sleep constantly. But she's just walking around, getting out, doing a few more things. So I'm going to go rock climbing in a few days. This weekend, nice. My partner's a bit of a photographer, so we're going to go to a holly festival on the weekend and throw dye around. Apart from that,
perfect time for something like that as well, with Ramadan starting this week.
Yeah.
So all those festivals are going to be absolutely huge.
Yeah. I've actually seen holly over in India. That was an amazing experience.
I bet. I hope you tempered the expectations for this one.
No, my partner's actually a photographer at the event, so we've done it a couple of times. We know what it's like, yes, but holly in India is mind blowing. Bathing in the Ganges in the afternoon to get all the dye off.
Oh my God, that would be stunning. That would just be absolutely amazing to look at.
So yeah, major hobbies I would say are physical activity, travel, and photography for my partner, but we haven't been doing a whole lot of that recently. Hopefully more in the future, but isn't that everybody's dream?
It gets easier as the kids get older.
Everyone says that. You came back from the hospital and they said the first 6 weeks are the hardest. The first 6 weeks they slept. How is that the hardest?
That's not the hardest. No, the thing about the first 6 weeks is that it's new and it changes how you do things during the day. And you're like, can I make this noise? Can I get the vacuum cleaner? Like that's the hard part about a newborn. It's when they get to the age that they're around walking, you have to lift everything up a foot. And so you have to work out, oh crap, what have I actually got down low? Or, when they're sort of teenagers and they're going, oh, I'm going out, and not telling you where they're disappearing to. And you start to worry about what's going on there. When they learn to answer back, that's probably the hardest part.
Yeah. I'm excited about her starting to learn to walk and talk and things like that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be painful later, isn't it?
Yeah. But that's right, because in like 20 years' time, they'll be gone and you'll be like, I can do everything again now because there's no kid around the place. You won't notice how much you miss it until then.
The way house prices are going, that may not happen.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point. That's something I have to talk to another client about with, actually. That's a scary side at the moment. Do you get much time to read? Oh, I know. Yeah, it's horrifying here. Do you get much of a chance to sit down and read? Or is that just another thing that's sort of not really the time for it at the moment?
Not a whole lot, actually. I saw that you were going to ask me about my reading as your questions, but no, I haven't done much. The only thing I have read in the last year, I have a favorite book or favorite series, which is the Daughter of the Empire, Servant of the Empire, Mistress of the Empire series. And I've read that while Chloe was sleeping, but apart from that, it's just I'm not really got the mental strength to go and delve into a new book at the moment. It's just old favorites. I want to relax.
Yeah, fair enough too. Helps you unwind. Are you a traditional print reader or prefer something like a Kindle or ebook?
I've actually got a Kindle. I've had 3 Kindles because I've traveled with them and they've broken. So my partner got me my last Kindle, and I'm very happy with it. No, I carried around Shantaram for ages. If you know that book, it's like that thick, and so it takes a long time to read. And carrying it around in my backpack, cycling to and from work because I might get 5 minutes to read it at work. It was slow getting through, and it was very very heavy carrying it around. So no, I'm definitely much. I love paper, but at the same point in time, the practicalities of having a small Kindle, which you can just go, oh, finish that book on next, is brilliant.
Yeah.
But
No, that makes a lot
I'm
of
not
sense.
a huge fan of reading things on the iPads or tablets. It's not the same. I don't like
I'm the same.
rapid trains.
I prefer books. I just, even when I was traveling last year, I still took a couple of books with me, knowing I could download stuff and read it digitally. It didn't feel the same. Just wasn't quite right.
I've got a friend who's very into audiobooks, and he
Mm-hmm.
actually works in manufacturing and listens to audiobooks while he's working. But
That's
I
a good
don't
idea.
think that would work for me. I'd get too distracted
Yeah.
and just start thinking about other things if I was multitasking when I was reading a book.
Yeah. I think if anybody ever saw the newsletters that I write up, if I'd had an ebook going on or an audiobook in my ear, you'd see it show up in the text because I just get distracted and start. What's the word? Subscribing? Transcribing what's being written in my ear, and then probably get done for copyright infringement for plagiarizing somebody's work and not realizing it. Do you have a favorite piece of science fiction?
I'm not quite sure. Are you thinking about a particular genre here? I mean, science
Like
fiction movies. It could be
TV,
art.
TV show, movies, games.
Favorite piece of science fiction. I'd possibly say that book series that I mentioned previously.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of carries on from Magician, which is a very famous science fiction book, which I love, but I don't like the rest of Raymond E. Feist's other stuff. Kind of gets lost in a tangent. I'm very into the initial Eon Flux short TV show things.
It's
And I
beautiful.
guess I find it quite funny, interesting, different. And I guess the hot topic at the moment is June, but I'm not sure I like the new remake. It was a little bit slow and not enough substance for me. But I've heard movie number 2 is really good. I'm throwing my hands up in the air whether I go see it or not.
Yeah, I'm the same. I need to get along to it at some point in time. And it's the only major film franchise with the lead character named Paul. So
Okay.
I'm very keen to support something like that because it's generally Pauls on screen die really early or are absolutely horrible people. And it's nice to see one who's actually a hero for once. So I should support it for that.
I'm never sure. Don't think I've actually ever seen a Bronwen on screen, so you're one ahead of me.
There's got to be a famous Bronwen somewhere on screen.
There was a politician named Bronwen, but that's not really.
No, I might
Sadly,
have to do some digging on that one now. Tell me about pet peeves. Do you have a pet peeve in the way that people deal with data management?
I guess my pet peeve is the ad hoc nature that people have, the ad hoc way people deal with it. The fact that they don't use templates, don't use regular processes, or if they do have them, they don't necessarily maintain them. I do understand the whole issue of, oh, we've got this framework, it doesn't quite work. We're just going to tack this little bit onto the end, or manipulate it in this way to get it to do something else. It's a lower cost to begin with. but then that technical debt just grows and grows and grows. And if you don't have templates or customizable patterns at all, then the technical debt is just magnified 100 times from the start, and you've never really thought about it. I like to think about the fact that a lot of data is backing up data and making sure it's auditable. And I have the analogy of, if you're wanting to back up your computer or back up your organization's computers, would you go into File Explorer, right-click, select all, and drag them over into another folder location and go, cool, that's a reliable industry-wide backup. We can just go wander around our 10,000 employees' desks and go that for everyone? No, you'd have a regular system that does it all and does it quickly and does it regularly and does it repeatedly, and you can monitor it, and etc. And it saves you time, and it makes it much more reliable. And that same thing for data warehousing. It really is, in effect, a backup solution for your data. Why would you do everything manually, do everything different ways, etc.? That I guess is my main annoyance. I really want to get more into the analytics space, but the data quality just isn't there for most organizations to actually be doing much in that place. So that would probably be my pet peeve. I guess my next pet peeve, which I'll just get onto because I've just thought about it then, is a bit along the same track, in that once you've got a good framework, you've got to have playpens where people can go and quickly copy a version of what you've got, play around with it, push it back into the master copy. So not kind of dev, test, prod, which everyone's thinking about or has been doing historically, but I've got my sandbox. I clone it from prod, so I know it's production-like. I play around with it. I can then push it into dev, test, prod if I want to, but I can have 10 of them. I don't have to have one dev. I can clone from prod. I can do what I need to do. I can push it through the testing framework. I'm not working off an environment that isn't production-like anymore and slow. So they'd probably be my two favourites.
They're good favourites. I think they're really good because they're solid bases that people should be building from when it comes to their data management. So it makes sense that if it's not done right, it's going to be so annoying and so frustrating to have to deal with. Yeah. That's my questions. Done and dusted. Hopefully this wasn't too painful, but thank you very much for joining me.
Not at all. The screaming stopped.
Of course, Murphy's Law. Absolutely Murphy's Law. But it usually means that they're doing something they shouldn't.
She's with her father, so I'd entirely believe that.
Fair. Very fair. Bronwen, thank you very much for joining me. I guess I'll catch you next time.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Oh, I want to thank Bronwen again for joining me. It was absolutely fascinating sitting down and learning a little bit from her. It's really cool to see somebody go from a world of raw, pure data like you do with numbers through to things that can be a little bit more ambiguous and stressful, like the world of data management. Having a listen to her and what her pet peeves were got me thinking about some of the traps that people can fall into sometimes when it comes to building up their data management systems. It reminded me of a masterclass thing that we did, must have been last year sometime, where one of the questions that cropped up was around some of the traps that people fall into when it comes to setting up their data vault. But I think the advice here actually fits really nicely with pretty much any form of data management. So here's a clip from that masterclass.
So what traps should you look out for when you start your data vault journey?
Yeah, I think so we're dealing a lot with technical teams, to be honest. So lots of people who know a lot of technologies, they know Python, databases, they know how to process data and so on, right? And they also know how to deal with infrastructure. So techies. The thing is, and I'm myself a techie as well. So I have a computer science degree, is my first degree essentially, and then got a MSIS degree essentially afterwards. So the thing is, techies like technology solutions, right? So technology solves everything. That's maybe the best starting point for them. And the problem is that the biggest trap, I think, is that you start building the platform first. The platform essentially. That's it. The team focuses quickly on the non-functional requirements, that you want to automate your deployments, you want to automate the data warehouse with Data Vault, right? You want to have a nice and fancy dashboarding solution and so on. So you look at all these technology solutions, you build a platform, but when you start implementing the first functional requirements, the first report, you realize that the platform you designed doesn't fit for your business, for your data flows from the source system, essentially, right? So there's something wrong, and you have to essentially rework your solution. So what we typically do is we make sure that the team is really focused on the functional requirements first, build some report. And all these non-functional requirements we have to get done as well, because the customer, the client, they want to have a reporting solution. They want to have that's the biggest business value for them. But they also want to have a solution that's compliant with GDPR or with other laws, that's automated in regarding testing, regarding loading, deployment, and so on. So they want all that. But the primary reason why they come to us to build a data warehouse is not because they want to have a data lake in the cloud. They want to have reports and dashboards. That's the business value. So we focus the team on the functional requirements, but with every sprint, I expect that the team is also implementing some of the non-functional requirements, but not at first. Major focus should be on the functional requirements.
That's a good lesson. I mean, they're paying for a platform, but what they really want to see is output, don't they? So, yeah, Knowles, what do you have to add?
Well, what problem are you trying to solve? We've seen quite a few implementations where the problem is being solved before it's become a problem, and then the business goes, but it's never been a problem, and so it never adopts it. So that's the first issue. So find a business problem, a business outcome that has value, and focus on that. So very much in line with Michael's description there. So which then also requires some sort of champion, somebody that has both the responsibility and accountability, and therefore the appropriate political clout within the organization to own the program and be able to roll out the political stumbling blocks that invariably do come up in conversations within an organization. Change is always resisted. So if you are going to implement something new or something different, then you need a change champion. So that's a critical success factor for all of these programs. So have a good champion in place, then have something of value that is delivered. And we've seen a number of times replacing something existing is not good value. So have something new, something specific with explicit value that it drives the program, as opposed to being a me too. Me too never gets the love that it's supposed to have. And so from that perspective, it's a critical success factor.
I mean, I get to engage probably at a steering committee level fairly often, and this all rings true. And to me, it summarizes up into: don't boil the ocean. Make sure that you do things in thin slices, and that each slice delivers value to some part of the business. It's we should all be living by that mantra, I think, and it's very easy for a governance body to say, let's replace that system so that we no longer are paying for that old legacy whatever. But the business doesn't. The business users don't care. They're not seeing the bill, so they're not necessarily caring that that's being replaced. And also, that's boiling the ocean, because usually that system's been in for years, so it's probably producing hundreds of reports, and you're going to be at it for a long time if you're trying to replicate all of that stuff without delivering anything new. So. I think we're all on the same page about that, and I've seen that really play out in a not a positive way at the steering committee level. So.
Hey, that's us for this week's episode of the Data Vault Radio Show. I want to thank Bronwen again for sitting down and having a chat with me earlier on. And I want to make sure as well, if you're still in London doing the Data Vault Innovators Community Summit with Scalefree and Coalesce, that you're enjoying yourself. I hope it's relaxing, that you're learning lots, and that you're trying Is it tea and crumpets? Is that the British food? I honestly don't know. I need to get over there and try it for myself. And don't forget, if you want to join us for next week's live recording of the Data Vault Masterclass in Melbourne, all the details for that are available on the Data Vault Innovators community. It's free to join. There's a link in the bio. It's popping up on the screen right now. Until next week, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all the rest of the stuff that anybody who makes any kind of content asks you to do. And enjoy the rest of your week. We will catch you next time.